Hello and welcome to My Business Rules. I'm Chris Bishop. Now I'm in Bryanston in Johannesburg for the story of Mahlatshe Masimini, a young woman who started her business the hard way in her mid-20s, and now she's grown and is starting to make a few waves, aged just 30.
Hi, my name is Mahlatshe Masimini. I'm the MD of Moshate Media, and our business rules because we are entrenched in the culture of service excellence as well as innovation.
Mahlatshe, thank you for joining us on the program. Just take us right back to your origins, where you come from, who you are.
I come from Limpopo, the township called Lebakgomo. That's where I was raised. I did my schooling there and then moved to the Western Cape in 2003 to further my studies. I studied at AAA. I then joined a company called Sky Media after that, and then 2 years later started the company Moshate Media.
And your parents, your mother was a teacher and your father worked in the education department?
Sure.
Oh, it's the old-fashioned thing,
It
education.
is. It is. Obviously, like most parents, they would, they're very big on education, and they are in the Department of Education or in the education sector. So as much as they were quite academic, they were also entrepreneurial at the same time. So, the spirit of entrepreneurship was instilled in me ever since a young age.
And presumably also they were big on discipline as well, I imagine, when you were young.
Definitely. I mean, discipline goes hand in hand with education, and my mom being a teacher, she's quite strict, and she's also Christian. So the values that I was raised, with are more Christianity and so forth. So yeah.
And then you went through college. You worked for some time, and then was it not January the 23rd, 2009? You decided to go out on your own. What made you decide to do that as become an entrepreneur?
Firstly, I'm quite a driven person and quite passionate. So those I think are the two elements that any entrepreneur needs to succeed. So what made me to start in 2009, I was quite naive. I was 24, turning 24. And I had great concepts, I thought, at the time. And I wanted to, go start it and see what happens afterwards. And
it must have been tough for you at that particular age, because still it's a conservative world we live in. Young 23-year-old woman walking in with her own ideas. What sort of problems did you face?
I faced a lot of problems. Externally, I faced problems, around clients not taking you seriously because you're a bit too young. Being in I wouldn't say it's a male-dominated industry, but most of my peers were still in college, and here you are trying to raise R1 million, So it was quite, those are the challenges that I face, is people taking you seriously because you're young, you're a woman, and you're black.
How did you deal with it?
I wouldn't say I dealt with it, I just continued. So I didn't deal with it. I just continued doing what I knew because I'm quite, driven and passionate. So I'm very persistent as well. So I just pushed and pushed from day one. Because
I've heard horror stories about these situations that you were talking about. I mean, what's your horror story from those days?
The first year, I think the most horrific thing that happened was that there was a night or a day where I hadn't paid my rent and had to sleep at the office because I was kicked out of my flat in the Western Cape. So that was when everything was, I was starting to realize this situation, and I was waking up to it at the same time. But that very same night, a great concept came to my mind. And even today, we're still running that show.
And your parents at that particular time, they must have been going frantic.
They were quite upset because the company I worked for, I was, in a comfortable salary for the age, that I was, and they just thought, why put yourself through the trauma? Just work, and when you're ready, save up a bit of money. When you're ready, then venture into your own thing.
And it was just you to begin with. And how long did it take you to make the rent, as it were, just to stand still, do you think, from that January 2009?
So things started coming together after August. So the first 6 to 7 months, it was traumatizing, to say the very least. But after August, that's when things started, coming together. Clients start calling you, and it was quite, satisfying, and I felt like it's fulfilling, And I started making a bit of bucks, and I did my first show around October 2009, and yeah.
And now you're out there doing conferences, events. Just give us a taste of the sort of things that you are doing now. You've actually kind of arrived in this business.
So essentially, we're an events management company. So that's how we started, the business, doing exhibitions, that's one division, or that's what we do annually. We run our own concepts and we roll it out annually, and we raise sponsorships and funding for our projects, internal projects. Also, we've got a special events division which takes care of business conferences, seminars, awards, banquets, you name it, for companies. We'll be doing one actually next week for MMI Holdings, as well as Shell South Africa in Feb next year. So it's large corporates, and we do their conferences, we do their summits, we do their workshops, seminars, you name it. As well as we've got a PR division, which looks after public relations for companies, stakeholder engagements, media relations, media buying, and so forth. So we've got 3 divisions within the company now that we're doing exhibitions, we're doing special events, and PR.
And this conference world, it's big business these days, but also it's very competitive business. How difficult do you find it actually competing for the business out there?
I think it should come within the culture of the company. I've made sure that from inception that I entrench a culture of hard work, service delivery, accountability, integrity, and so forth. So your business, fortunately, resonates the entrepreneur, so people will know the business through me because it's a brand as well. So through the years, I think our strong point, was that, culture, the culture of the company stayed within the company, the long hours, the early mornings. Innovation is quite big in our industry. You need to bring the latest trend, otherwise you're going to miss out. So if you've got the right skill set and you've got the right creativity, I think, yeah.
Give us an idea how you grew from 2009. Obviously you started on your own with not very much money at all. 2010, 2011, where were you then, you'd say?
2010, I was also kind of like, I had only 3 people working with me. And that's when I relocated from the Western Cape to Johannesburg or Gauteng. And 2011, that's when we obviously got our first break. And the team was now around 6 to 8 people. And that's when we started seeing a lot of growth.
Just give me an idea. I mean, in this town, Johannesburg, say there's a conference going, how many companies might be competing for it at any one time? Give us a taste of the business.
Sure. At any given time, I mean, you get, if there's, an RFP out there for a conference that APSA wants to, put together, you'd find that there's about close to 30 to 40 companies competing for it. It's serious competition.
And many of them been in the business for many, many years.
Many years, yeah.
Know all the tricks of the trade.
Exactly.
But what are the other problems of the business that you're in?
I think that's the other, because we're also still in an emerging phase, the other problems that we face would be things like cash flow, managing cash flow, which opportunities to chase and which not to chase. I think those two currently that's and also growth. Growth in itself can be a challenge. How to manage growth within the business? What structures do you put in place? What systems do you put in place to be able to manage growth so that you can, reoccurrently bring in business?
There's a lot of people watching this program. They've either been through what you've been through or going to go through it. How do you deal with it?
Own own the situation and know that you put yourself in the situation. Therefore, you cannot point fingers. So make the best of the situation. It's not going to magically disappear. So anticipate it. And deal with it and go through it. I don't think that there's a formula in which anybody, an entrepreneur, can say, oh, this is how you need to approach it. I think that you need to just be strong-headed, strong-willed, and you know, dig your heels in and just know why you're in this and why you're doing it, because at the end it will pay off.
As an entrepreneur, how difficult is it to have that discipline and the fact that you've suffered? You couldn't pay the rent at some stage, but isn't it tempting now to think, well, maybe I could get another dozen people, I could get perhaps bigger offices, I could get a fleet of cars, that sort of thing, which is what a lot of people do, and then they end up bankrupt within 5 years. How do you deal with that?
How I deal with it is that, firstly, I know where I come from, and the values which I was brought up, you know, with from home, you know, so if you've suffered enough in your life, I don't think you'd want to, you know, burn money or cash overnight. I think that you as an entrepreneur, you grow so much respect for money because you understand the value of it and you understand how to make money now. So it's not often that unless if it's a tender and it was a freebie tender, but if you've worked for it, you certainly would like to sustain it, so it's reoccurring in your business, and you learn to respect money and the value of money, because now you know how to make money.
And the future, what do you want to be? I mean, where do you want to take this company? Where do you want to take yourself in the next 20, 30 years?
For the future, I would like to obviously grow the scope within the communications industry. We'd like to get into media monitoring. We'd like to get into media buying. We'd like to get into video production and a bit of publishing as well. And, you know, come up with more concepts, which is what has made Moshate Media, is to come up with more concepts to the market, you know, within the mining sector as well as the construction sector, for exhibitions, for conferences and so forth.
Mahlatshe, thank you very much for your time. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for on this edition of My Business Rules from the headquarters of Moshate Media in Bryanston, Johannesburg. From me, Chris Bishop, it's goodbye.